Hello all and welcome to ZlaineChannel. What's up YouTube? Welcome back to another video on Ragnarok Online Origins. My name is Xero and this time we're going to be talking about sigils. Now what are sigils? Sigils are a new feature that's been implemented in ROO Global. It has been implemented in other servers before this like Korea, Taiwan, NA, and now it has made its way to our global server. Now what are sigils? Sigils, or imprints as some servers might call them, are basically small upgrades, or basically what you might call in other mobile games or any other games really. There are things like runes, power-ups, or basically just passive power-ups for your character that you can use in your game. Now sigils are available to all players once they reach level 80. So what are sigils and what do you do them? Let's check them out. Now there are basically three types of sigils. One, there's the active sigils or imprints. As you can see in the in-game UI, they still call it imprints, but don't be confused by that. They are also still called sigils. Now there are basically three types of sigils right here. There is the active sigil, there is the build or class specific sigils. Last but not least, there is the passive sigils. Now active sigils are basically sigils that you can attach to your character in order for them to have different types of skills. Now, as you can see here, there are a lot of different sigils. You have the ancient power, which buffs your entire team, just increased additional stats. You have your frozen world, which is basically kind of like Quagmire mixed up with Storm Gust, which you can target in a target area. Basically, if you have this sigil, you are a wizard.
You're a wizard, Harry.
And next you have Holy Light Descending, which is a supportive buff which reduces damage taken by your entire team. You guys get the idea. These are active skills that you can attach on top of your character to help you out in your adventures, in your MVP, in PvP, whatever it is. These sigils are class agnostic and are available to anyone who unlocks them. Next we have the build specific sigils. Now these sigils are made for specific builds, for specific jobs. There are only 8 specific build sigils available right now. They'll be adding them in the future. So if you don't see a sigil that works out for you, or if they just do not fit your build, for example, the sniper sigil is pretty bad for 99% of the ADL snipers playing out there, but you know, you can just take it for the moment because they have the collection stat. We're going to talk about the collection stat a little bit later and how you can utilize them. But yeah, these are basically the build sigils. If you are not that specific job, you cannot equip these sigils. So make sure you make the proper selection or the choices before you go into it. Last but not least, we've got the passive sigils. Now, passive sigils are basically additional power-ups that you can add to your character. So passive sigils are essentially broken down to a couple of different types. You have different types of rarities. You've got the ultra rares, you've got the epics, you've got the commons. So these colors, if you read the stats on each of them, you'll notice that they basically do the same thing, but the yellow versions do better than the purple versions, and then the purple versions do better than the blue versions, etc. So this might look like a lot at the start, but you'll get a hang of it really quickly. Now, each character can equip up to 6 sigils at once. That is 4 passive sigils, 1 active sigil, and 1 class sigil. So you have to, in terms of the active sigil, you have to make a very conscious decision on what sort of sigil you want to equip, whether it is an offensive version, whether if it's a defensive version, or if you can't decide, just go for, you know, something generic. That's completely fine. Passive sigils are the ones hardest to decide on because there are just so many, and depending on your different build, different sort of character, what you want, what role you want to fill in your party, you're gonna have to equip different types of sigils. We're gonna talk about what sigils are best for different archetypes of the game in a short while. So if you guys want to know all about that, don't go anywhere. How are you going to get these sigils, you may ask? Well, there are a couple of different places where you can buy or grind them out for. If you want to buy them, if you're feeling very whaley, there's the Nyan Berry shop, of course, selling the sigil packs. You've got them also in the diamond store where they cost a pretty penny as well. So they are not very cheap, and definitely you want to decide on what you want to buy out before heading into that. There is also, the last but not least, available to all characters. It is the Juperos runes. Now in Jupiter's Ruins, basically you fight a different version of a Thanatos boss every single week. Every single week it's a completely different boss. You can click on the preview to check out what boss is coming up next, so you can prepare your cards and your team for it. There are also different mechanics for each different boss at each different week, so make sure you go for a test run with your team before going for the real runs, because you only can do it twice a week, which is once per day for the active rewards, and every week you can assist for more rewards as well. Assisting in Jupiter's Ruins do give you rewards. You can check out this tab, which is in reward preview, to see what sort of rewards you're going to get. As you can see here, the assist rewards do come into play as well, so make sure you form a good party for it. And not to mention, there is the rewards for ranking every week. So as you can see, as the higher you rank, the more rewards you get. So make sure you try your best to aim for the highest you can with your party. Now, there are so many sigils available for you to choose or eventually get. So you might be asking, what's the best for my character? Well, the answer is all of them. All the sigils, whether it's the active sigils, the builds, or the passives, they have something called the collection stat, which sort of like the card binder, you're able to unlock passive stats that add to your character, whether you have the sigils deployed or not. These stats do add to your characters. If you click on each and every one of them, some of them give very good stats. You have things like neutral damage reduction, some of them give just raw P attack, which is great, and then you have your damage reductions, a bunch of them. So if you have the availability, and if the sigils are sealed, which means that you cannot trade them, you might as well just unlock them for the passive collection stats. Each sigil also has different level of upgrades. As you can see here, if you have a level 1, for example, Deadlock Aurora, you unlock basically only that sigil stat. But if you continue to upgrade it, you start to unlock more and more bonuses. And these sigils also have their passives updated as well as the further you go along. A lot of these sigils have very insane effects for their level 4. So if you spot out a good sigil for your build, definitely you want to max it out as soon as possible, because they really have a huge upgrade. Now, for the sigil stats, they are only applied to your character if you have them deployed. For example, if you do not have Silver Soul deployed here, as I do, you will not be getting the sigil stats as well as the passive upgrades as well. So you will not be getting the max HP, you'll not be getting the PvP damage reduction, so you have to bear in mind of that as well. Now comes the important question: which sigil is the best for my class? What if I'm an auto attack assassin, and what should I choose for my sigil? These are very hard questions to answer, but I'll try to explain the best I can of what you can choose for your sigil. So I won't be talking about each class specifically, but more of I'll be talking about an archetype of your class and which sigils would fit into your archetype the best. Let's start off with the physical DPS class, which are classes like the auto attack assassins. You have your auto attacking bash knights, you've got your ADL snipers. Now there are a couple of very good sigils for this class, and here are ways you can use them and why are they good for those classes. Now, Berserk is one of the best sigils for any auto attacking classes. When you deal damage, you gain Berserk charges for 1 second to a maximum of 10 seconds. So essentially every attack you will gain a Berserk charge, and these charges do not expire. So when you reach a maximum of 10 stacks, which for auto attacking classes 10 stack takes like 2 seconds, you will be able to charge the Berserk very quickly, and you'll be able to increase your P attack and magic attack by 5% for 5 seconds. Every 2 seconds you'll be able to get the maximum effect for Berserk, which is basically increasing your P attack by 5%, which is huge for any physical attacking class. The max upgrade for Berserk is huge as well. Now, instead of just only when reaching 10 stacks, every single attack just gradually increases your physical and magical attack as well. Next up, we have the Raging Bloodlust, which is a very interesting sigil here. When the target's HP is above 50%, there's a 5% chance of consuming 5% of your HP when landing a crit, and increase your critical damage by 10%. Now, some of you might be thinking this is just an absolute downside, but no. If you are an auto attacking class, and if you are in an instance dungeon with your full party, that 5% HP is basically 1 white potion or just 1 Sohi heal. And if you equip Sohi, which for the most part auto attacking classes will, you basically have no downside when using Raging Bloodlust. Not to mention the level 4 upgrade of this is huge as well. Not to mention level 4 upgrade is absolutely huge as well. Now it gives you both a condition when your target is above or below 50%, and it's just great bonus damage all around. There is basically no downside to be using this, except of course the fact of losing a little bit of HP, but hey, what's 5% HP if you do more deeps, right? Now the next sigil for the auto attacking class is pretty interesting one. It's the Choice of Fate, or anything else that has similar effect in the lower upgrades. Now Choice of Fate, when you deal damage, you have a 30% chance to increase that damage by 10%, as well as a 30% chance to lose 5% of your max HP. Now this is a very interesting one, because if you don't build your character properly, you might just die attacking a boss or a mob. So you have to watch out when you're using Choice of Fate. But hands down, it is a very interesting and one of the best runes for using MVPs, because what it can do is it creates a scenario where you have reduced HP, and what benefits from reduced HP? Healing. You're able to get a lot of healing points using Choice of Fate, and just for that reason alone, not to mention the additional damage, that's great of course. Just for that reason alone, Choice of Fate is a very top tier sigil for any auto attacking class. But be warned, the condition procs on every single attack, not just your auto attack, but also any auto cast as well. So for example, if you're an ADL sniper who is using Orc Archer card and you have Blitzbit on, you are going to lose a lot of HP very fast. So make sure you test out what sort of additional things you need to pair up with Choice of Fate to make it work, such as the Sohi Pet or a Hunterfly card or a Baphomet to keep you self-topped up. But if you can find the perfect combination, this is one of the best sigils for you. Next, we're going to talk about burst type classes. Now, burst classes are things like an Azura Monk or a Finger Offensive Monk, Spiral Pierce Knights, anything that deals huge damage in a short duration of time. Now, this is a little bit different from auto attacking classes, because you're not doing consistent, constant damage, but instead you are dealing one huge chunk of damage, taking a short break, and then continue dealing damage. Now, there are different sigils to buff that. Now let's take a look at what they are. Now for Azura Monks specifically, there is a top tier very interesting sigil for you. It's called Energy Drain. Now what Energy Drain does is every second that you're in battle, you gain one stack of the Energy Drain effect to a maximum of 10 stacks, which means that you'll get it maximum in 10 seconds. Now the next time you do damage, you consume all your stacks of Energy Drain, which each stack increases the damage dealt by 1%. Now you see the number 10, what does that speak out to you, Azura Monks? You have a 10-second downtime every time you use Azura. So this Energy Drain fits in perfectly for a pure Azura Monk player. Every time you Azura, you charge up the next Azura for an additional 10% damage, because you're walking around basically doing nothing anyway. So this Energy Drain is very good for pure Azura Monks, just for the additional burst of damage. Now, if you max it out, it's even better. Now you get additional move speed while you're still charging up the Energy Drain. Not to mention, now each stack increases the damage dealt by 6%. Guys, 6%, which means when you have your next Azura strike up, you are doing a bonus 60% damage on the Azura with a maxed out Energy Drain at its full condition. If that doesn't blow your mind, the Azura strike probably will. Now for other normal burst type DPS classes such as Finger Offensive Monks or Spiral Pierce Knights or anything similar to that, there is a very good sigil for you. It is called the Megaton Bash. Now what Megaton Bash does is that when you deal damage, increase that specific instance of damage by 5% if the amount of damage is higher than 70% of the target's max HP. Now this might sound a little bit confusing at first, but let me explain to you. It's very easy. Nope, this is not the Bloodthirst effect where you deal more damage when your opponent's HP is at a certain threshold. No, this sigil increases. For example, if I use Spiral Pierce at an opponent's full HP and I do 70% of his HP, that Spiral Pierce's damage is buffed by 5%. So which means that if your next instance of attack, whether it's through a skill or a normal attack, deals 70% or more than your target's HP, now that attack will gain 5% increase in damage. So this is a great sigil if you're playing one of those burst type DPS classes and you're missing just that little tiny bit of damage you need to one-shot a mob, for example. If you need to one-shot a Pasana, but you find yourself just a little bit short, you just need to equip this Megaton Bash sigil and you're on your way. Now, Megaton Bash is useless when you're using it against bosses, because there's no way you do 70% of the MVP piece of HP with a single attack, but you can always switch it out. This is mainly just for farming and if you're lacking that little bit of damage. Now, we've been talking a lot about physical classes. Let's jump straight into the magic classes. Now, the magic classes also have their own specific sigils, which are great pairing for them. The first and foremost being Soul Reaper. Soul Reaper, when you kill a target, you gain the Soul Reaper effect, which reduces global cooldown by 10% and increased magic attack by 10% for 5 seconds. So you have a 5-second downtime, which you can activate Soul Reaper, and it is just great effects all around. You reduce your global cooldown and you increase your magic attack. This is great for magic DPS when they are farming. Now, mages as well as ME priests or any magic classes can also use Choice of Fate as well. And it's very interesting because, for example, if you are a wizard and you're using Meteor Storm, every tick of Meteor Storm has a chance to proc Choice of Fate. You have to watch out when you use this sigil on your wizard because every tick of Gravitational Field, every tick of Quagmire, of Meteor Storm, or Storm Gust has a chance to proc Choice of Fate. So if you're unlucky, you might just die. But it is also a good way to increase your damage by 10%, which is nice to hear. Now, magic classes can also use Berserk. Remember, all these sigils, they proc whether on skills or physical attacks as well, not to mention auto cast. So mages, you can also use Berserk as a way to increase your damage if you find yourself needing that additional burst of damage. So Berserk definitely works on wizards as well as ME priests as well. Now, time to show the support class some love. There are great sigils that will be able to help you survive or help out your team in different ways. Now, Floating Protection is one of the best sigils if you're a support class or even any class in general. It is just such a great defensive sigil. So you gain 1 shield of 15% of your max HP for 60 seconds in battle. So if you don't have the shield broken, it's gonna stay on there for 60 seconds and it takes effect 1 time every 15 seconds. So you can basically have it permanently up if you're able to avoid damage. But if you don't, hey, the downtime is only 15 seconds every time you have it. So Floating Protection is a great defensive sigil. When the shield is also broken, you do 500% magic attack in water element to nearby targets and inflict additional slow, which is great if you're playing something like a priest or a crusader and you want to kite around, you want to stay active, you want to be able to do a little bit of damage and provide a little bit of crowd control to your team as well. Floating Protection is a must-have for those classes. Now, the last important sigil for support and tank classes is Immortal Body. Immortal Body, or Silver Soul, which is its weaker counterpart, allows you to constantly heal your HP every time you take damage. So every time you take damage, for Immortal Body, you restore 5% of your max HP per second for 10 seconds. So throughout that 10-second duration, you're able to heal up 50% of your HP, and it only has the downtime of 20 seconds, which is huge because you're able to keep yourself healthy without needing your priest to constantly being able to heal you, and the priest is able to help out your other teammates as well. Now, there are a couple of sigils that are more specific for PvP purposes, which are things like Gate of Suffering, which attaches a debuff on your opponent, and if your opponent moves when he has that debuff, they take additional damage, which is nice to have, but obviously for me personally, I would go for either just raw damage sigils or defensive sigils for PvP purposes. Of course, if you want to give this a try, Gate of Suffering is a very interesting one, especially when you have it maximally upgraded. It deals even more damage and also reduces the defense and its move speed, which makes it a very PvP specific sigil. You guys can check out the list of what I think is the best sigil for each class in a bit, so you guys can pause the video and you can check out what sigil would fit for your character and build. That's all the time I have for you guys today, folks. Hope you guys enjoyed this video about sigils. Let me know in the comments what you think about this new system. And of course, let me know in the comments below as well what you want to see in the future for my content. This is Xero, signing out.